Welcome to SSSD Beyond the Hill, the official podcast of WKU Student Support Services Disabilities, also known as SSSD. I'm your co-host, Mr. Jimmy Martin.
And I'm your co-host, Katie Eversole. Here we explore the incredible resources, opportunities, and stories that empower students to succeed at WKU and beyond.
Each episode, we will chat with special guests, whether it's a student, staff member, community leader, or whoever, to share their stories, their insight, and advice, all to help you thrive and be successful at college.
Whether you're looking for tips to navigate college, learn about campus support, or hear stories of perseverance, we've got you covered.
And special shout out to our producer, Miss Ella Galvin, who's making all this possible behind the scenes. Shout out, Ella.
We're so glad you're here. Now let's dive in.
Today we're honored to welcome Sam Krutz, WKU Student Body President in Student Regions, a senior pursuing a BA in Business Administration and Management. Sam has been a dedicated leader in SGA, previously serving as freshman senator and administration VP. Beyond student government, he's a proud member of Sigma Phi Epsilon, has served on the Interfraternity Council, and is recognized for his leadership in Order of Omega and Omicron Delta Kappa Honor Society. Passionate about service and leadership, Sam is driven to help others and be a light in this community and create lasting change in the world. Welcome, Sam. Sam, how are you doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing good. How's your day been?
It's been pretty solid. I just woke up. I've been doing some work in the office. We have this big project that we are presenting on Tuesday that I've been working on the past week. So just been firing off a lot of emails about that this morning, but pretty slow morning, so nothing too crazy.
Trying to stay nice and warm in the snow?
Oh yeah, it's freezing out there, but hopefully we don't get it too bad on Wednesday, but I guess I wouldn't be opposed to one last senior snow day. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, love a good snow day, and out of school for the day, so yeah, definitely. And getting to slide down Chestnut Hill is always fun, so
I love it. I have to go home to my parents' house today, and I'm going to grab my sled just in case.
Oh, that's smart.
I love sledding down College Street in Chestnut. It's always fun.
Yes, absolutely. No, I'm jealous. I don't own a sled, so.
Oh, we went for the first time back when we had that snow, right before school started. We went, a couple of us, and we just, kind of rolled down it. Because we tried to use, totes and stuff, but it wasn't working. So we just all had a huge snowball fight on each other. It was so fun.
Yeah, it's definitely hard if you don't have a sled, so. Well, Sam, just to get into a little bit about you, why don't you just tell me a little bit about yourself and what brought you to WKU?
Well, the intro killed it. In terms of my involvement, that's pretty much everything. But what brought me to WKU is that I'm from here. And I have a really big connection to the city of Bowling Green, but also the campus. My parents, my grandparents, my uncles and aunts all went here. I've just had that, pride for the Hilltoppers, but also, passion for it since a young age. And it's just something that was kind of planted in me as a kid, as a seed, and it's just watered it throughout the years by athletic events or going on tours our campus and seeing my older cousins go to school here, stuff like that. And so I've always sort of knew it was going to be Western. I did face a little bit of the pressure that I feel like a lot of Bowling Green kids face senior year to you've been here your whole life, Bowling Green, I went to Bowling Green High, and so it's why don't you go to Lexington or Louisville or even somewhere like University of Alabama or something like that. You should go out there, and you definitely feel that pressure when you see kids your age doing it, but just something about Western has always been home to me. Literally and figuratively, so I kind of just always knew that this was going to be where I was going to go, and I'm very happy with the decision that I made.
Awesome. Very cool. It's nice to call WKU home.
For sure.
It was kind of home for me. Some of my family's here, so very
nice.
Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm from Franklin, Kentucky, so I'm
cool.
about 30 minutes from here. So I had that same, I was I need to get out and just anywhere away from Bowling Green, and then now we're here. But I love it so much. So what kind of helped you to want to get involved in SGA?
Yeah, for sure. So when I was a freshman, I was at H4, the Honors College introduction camp, and I was there, and I saw a few seniors from the organization. I knew Matthew Weiniger being from Bowling Green, and he was the current president. And Matthew was like, "Hey Sam, how are you doing?" And I ran cross country, so I just knew him through that, and I knew his family through going to the Southland pool here in Bowling Green. And he was like, "Hey man, hope you're doing well. You should look into this." And so I looked into it, and I was like, wow, like this seems like a really cool organization. And I just put my name in the hat, campaigned pretty hard. It's a funny story looking back. I barely got into SGA my freshman year. So each fall election, there's 3 freshman center spots, and I won 3rd place by beating out the next person by 3 votes. And so I was 3 votes away from not even being in SGA, and I don't know what my life would have been then. So I guess to anyone listening that's ever interested in running the SGA, even though it's kind of awkward sometimes, those extra just going up to somebody in fresh, being like, hello, like my name is so-and-so, like would you mind listening to kind of what I have to bring to the table, stuff like that. That always seems to pay off in the end, at least from what I've learned. So
Awesome. So you've served in multiple roles within SGA, as you said, like freshman senator. So what has that journey kind of been like? What has it looked like throughout the years?
Whew. Well, this might be a little bit of a long answer.
No problem.
But I guess that's the point of a podcast. But yeah, so my freshman year when I was like first sold SGA at age 4, I kept it in the back of my head because I had a misinformed belief that I would be too busy, which is what a lot of people have about RSOs or whatever it may be on campus, is that you're too busy. And at the time I was working at a law firm here in Bowling Green. So I had a job after class. I was taking 5 classes, all that jazz. And I don't know, I kind of thought like, man, maybe I'll be too busy. So I just kind of kept it in the back of my head. I knew that I was going to join Greek life already. And so I was like, well, if it's my first semester in Greek life and I have classes and work, maybe I don't have enough time. So I kept it in the back of my head. But then I had lunch with one of my mentors. His name was Matt Brown. And he told me, he was like, hey man, like I'm super involved on campus and I know that you won't have enough time, but there's no better way to grow on campus than getting involved in RSOs. And so he was the one, like Matthew Weiniger definitely was the first one to pitch the idea, but Matthew Brown was the person that really kind of pushed me to do that. And he was also trying to get me to join SIGEP at the same time. So he was kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone by getting lunch with me, I guess, on that, which it worked. But and so I was like, okay, like why so? And he knew people in SGA. Matt later joined SGA that semester. He was in SGA his freshman year, didn't do it his sophomore year, but rejoined his, I think, junior years when he was talking to me about it. And so he was appointed to the Senate that year. And he was just talking about the mission. He was like, it's just a great way to get your foot in the door and you can instantly help other students. He was like, there's a lot of opportunities on campus to be in those roles to help students. But a lot of them aren't available to freshmen. It's because, like your Spirit Masters, you have to be a sophomore, or honors toppers, or whatever it may be, student alumni ambassadors. You can't really get that your first week of college, or I guess technically with SGA elections, it's like your 4th week of college. But he was like, it gives you the opportunity to serve the student body instantly. And if you're passionate about service and you think that's something you would be good at and something that would fulfill you, you should go ahead and just put your name in the hat. There's nothing to lose. And that's something that's a big core value to me. I always grew up doing a lot of volunteer service, stuff like that. My grandparents really taught me that. They were big in like the Rotary Club in Bowling Green, and they started a church back in the day. And I was always doing like Meals on Wheels and stuff like that growing up. And so I always knew that I loved the opportunity to give back to people and to help serve the people that are a part of my community. And it was like something where I knew that I was about to join a big community full of like 20,000 people. And so I was like, well, if I can help them in any little way, I guess I'll try. And so I campaigned. I was very nervous because it's weird now even talking in this podcast. This is something I would not do in high school. I was a very quiet kid in high school. I had like my close friend group of like 20 people, and that's all I really like knew. And I don't know, that's just how I was. I transferred to Bowling Green from county schools, and so I didn't know a whole lot of people. And so I just kind of stayed in my lane, didn't really do anything too crazy. And so this was a big step for me, but I decided, like, what else do I have to lose? Like, if I lose this, like, it doesn't really matter. I'm just on campus. I'm a freshman. Like, it won't really hurt my reputation. Most people will forget about it, which is true. I'll give the advice to a lot of the freshman senators is that you don't need to overthink it. I think that's something that a lot of people often have, is that they just get in their own head about it. And so I ran. I spent a lot of time in Fresh. I remember this one day I spent like 6 hours in Fresh, and I would just go up to people and I'll be like, hey, like, do you mind if I talk to you for a second? I'm running for SGA. Sometimes they're like, sorry, dude. I'm trying to eat. And I'm like, hey, no problem. But a lot of times the students were very interested to see what I had to say. They're like, and a lot of times too, they're like, what is SGA? And that was a challenge for me because I knew what SGA was, but I didn't exactly know it in the level that I know it now. And so I was trying my best to explain what SGA was, which at the time I said our old motto, which was the official voice of the student body. And they're like, okay, like that makes sense. It's just like student council. I was like, yeah, kind of. And so eventually I campaigned. Like I said earlier, I won by 3 votes, which I still look back and I always remind myself that you were just 3 votes away from being in the position you are now. So, just take every day with humbleness and grace and be reminded of the blessing that you have in front of you. And so that's like, I always think about that 3 votes probably every day. But yeah, so I won that. I did my freshman year in the organization. And I liked it a little bit. But to be honest, the SGA my freshman year was a lot different than the SGA now. It was a very politically focused SGA in terms of like actual like American politics. And like I'm a political science minor, so I find all that stuff very interesting. But most of the people in the organization were there to not a lot of people were there to purely off the fact that they wanted to serve the student body. A lot of it was for resume boosters or to go after the executive positions or to even like have a good opportunity to argue with someone you don't politically agree with. And a lot of our issues that we had presented in front of our Senate was stuff that was political issues in current day American politics. And it was very interesting because this one meeting we were discussing critical race theory and if we should pass it as a resolution. And it ended up having 2.5 meetings that happened about it. And there was student organizations that were trying to get their funding to host events. But we spent so much time talking about critical race theory, which the bill, I think we passed it by like maybe a vote, if I remember correctly. But I mean, I don't even know if it got passed through like the university structure for when we passed a resolution. And so essentially, it might not have done as much as it was originally intended to do. But it took away from our direct mission of providing funding to the students that need it before the semester resets for different clubs, like stuff like that. And so I kind of got a little bit disheartened. I was like, I want to be using our legislation to directly benefit the students. And I was like kind of thinking too, like we had this huge debate over if like passing this resolution would support the students and or not. And I'm not here to talk about like if it would or wouldn't, but I knew that there was ideas that people unanimously knew were going to support the student body that weren't getting talked about. And that's why I got frustration. I was like, we should focus on that first. And so the next semester got a little bit better. But towards the end, there was a ticket that was put together, and it was people that are all great people. But a lot of them were like already in the organization, like had a lot of experience. And so most people thought that they were automatically going to win because a lot of times the most experience you have gives you kind of the upper hand. And I was like, okay, like those people are going to win. And I kind of just accepted it. I was like, okay, nice. Like I guess that's how it goes. And 2 of these people were rising seniors. One of them was also a freshman senator with me, very talented senator. And I was just like, okay, like this is a very talented ticket. There's no way that anyone's going to be able to disrupt that ticket. Like that's cool. And I knew I was going to run again for senator, but I really wanted there to be the change that I wanted to see, that we are just 100% student focused in terms of whatever we do is just for the students. And so anyways, about a month later, I get a call from this dude named Cole Bornefeld, and he calls me and he's like, hey man, like I know we don't know each other that well, but you've like been a very well-known, I guess, freshman senator. A lot of people have seen your campaign and they know about you. And I guess a little backtracking, I would always with every person I saw freshman year, I would carry the honor of being freshman senator very seriously. I would ask people all the time, just random strangers, like how can we help you, like stuff like that, because I feel like that's a huge part of being in SGA. You have to bring the outreach to the students. A lot of times the students aren't going to come to you. Sometimes you have to go to them and ask them just like, hey, like is there anything we can help you with, which I got really good at, and I'm happy I did because that kind of helped me overcome my shyness. And so anyways, flash forward, Cole calls me. He's like, hey, I know about that. You've been good about doing this, that, and the other. Would you be interested in running? And I was like, like, let me think about it. And then he was like, well, my vice president would, well, like back in the day, there's 2 vice presidents. We changed our constitution. but he was like, it would be Garrison Reed. And I knew Garrison a little bit better than I knew Cole. And I was like, hey, like Garrison's a great dude. Like I'll be really interested. And so pretty off the bat, I was intrigued to be on the ticket. And it was crazy. I was helping an old lady move into her, I was just volunteering at this nursing home, like moving couches. And I was like covered in sweat. It was like April. And Cole calls me and he's like, hey, like we need you like showered in a suit in like 45 minutes. And if you want to do this, like we have a person come to take our pictures. And I was just like, all right. And I think that's like probably the most like sporadic thing I've done to this day. But it really changed the way I viewed a lot of like my leadership style. Is like a lot of opportunities present themselves in the moment and you have to be willing to hop on them. So anyways, we campaigned. Our ticket was called BRK, like Cole Bornefeld, Garrison Reed, Sam Krutz. And but during our campaign, we were thinking to ourselves and we were like, who do we want to be? And we thought of this idea of, instead of campaigning as the official voice of the student body, we would campaign as something different. And so we were like I think we were in Chick-fil-A, and we were thinking to ourselves, we're like, what do we want SGA to be if we were to win? And one of us just said, like, I just want it to be for the students. I don't remember which one of us said it, but I remember we all just sort of paused and we're like, wait, what did you say? And we're like, well, for the students. Like, we just want it to be for the students. Like, whatever we do, no matter what it is, at least every little thing that we do directly benefits a student on campus, and hopefully as many students as possible. And we were like, dude, that is a great slogan, because I feel like the official voice of the student body is a big part of what we do, but that kind of overshadows a lot of the smaller work that we do, besides like the advocating to the faculty, staff, board of regents, stuff like that. And so we campaigned on just being for the students. A lot of people like that idea. They're like, yeah, like I like you guys. Like, if you're going to be for the students. And we ended up winning by another small margin. I know Cole, I think, won by like 17 votes. Garrison won by like 30. I won by like 40. It was very close. And so that also gave us a lot of humbleness and gratitude going to this election. And then, just tackled that year as AVP. Helped Cole and Garrison out with a lot of ideas, which I'm sure y'all got a lot of questions I'll follow up, so I'll let y'all talk about that. But then junior and senior year, so now I'm here. I feel bad. I'm like hogging the mic.
No, you're good. This is all about you. So please, as much as you'd like to say. I think I really loved your response to that question. I think that was amazing and really gave us an insight into into what you do and into what SGA does, because honestly I had no clue anything about SGA until like right now. So what do you think, you kind of mentioned you're all about the students and just walking up to students and asking them like what you can do to help. What do you think, what's kind of been like the biggest challenges you've seen students mention? It's hard to say as like one kind of challenge, but I can give you like a bread basket if that works. Because I think a lot of it really depends on the student. And that's the beauty of Western, is that there is not one type of student. Now, like hypothetically, like at some of these like SEC schools, like Auburn or Alabama, there is a huge majority of like one type of student. But at Western, like we are very lucky to have like a diverse student body that's full of people from all types of different backgrounds and stuff like that. And so we just, I don't know, there's a lot of opportunities that come with that, but there's a lot of different problems that come with that too, that face each student differently. I would say the number one problem that we hear every year that is you'll hear this at any college SGA. Like I talk with student bodies all over the student body presidents all over the country all the time. This is something that they run into too, but problems with the dorm, I would say, is number one. We hear stuff like that all the time, and people come to us expecting that we can fix all their problems instantly. And we always send it up the command chain, and a lot of times it does get worked on. But also a lot of sometimes our response too is kind of educating some of the submissions or the submitters of the complaints and the process that it goes about to submit a complaint to HRL. And there is like a maintenance request that you can just Google WKU maintenance request, and like that has a bunch of on-call like electricians, plumbers, like engineers that will fix your thing as long as they know about it. And a lot of times too, what I've seen, which I've heard these complaints for the past 3 years, is that the people that are working on the dorms never hear that because the maintenance request form is not submitted. And I mean, I've tested it out before with people that I know that live in dorms. Like they'll be there within 48 hours if you submit a maintenance request. So a lot of times what I'll do is like somebody will say like, hey, like this stinks. And I'm like, okay, like
I can send an email about it, but they get a lot of emails from me about it. Like, they would be more appreciative if you sent them, an email about it. And here's how to do it, stuff like that. And so, but I would say number one, like, that's pretty much that's the answer you'll get on across every college campus is the dorms, because there's just so many people experiencing that experience that the probability of there being a high amount of complaints is always there. Number two, I would say is, there's a lot of close number twos. I would say number two is parking. as much as that, it's very cliche. These are very like cliche answers, but they're cliche for a reason. It is parking. This is also something that every college campus is going to face. But SGA in particular has tried to help that as much as we can. So last year we passed a resolution to make parking passes a little bit cheaper for the student body, because we've heard that they're a little bit too expensive for some of our students. And so we tried to help out with that. Right now, we're actually currently exploring an option where we can maybe help supplement some of the costs of it in a certain way. It's always really hard to figure out ideas like that, because you have to make it in a fair way. And that's why we do a lot of giveaways that are just, done by a random number generator. It's because it's really hard to get vouchers and not give them to every single student. And so we have to sort of crunch a lot of numbers and how we can make it statistically the most fair for everybody, because that's something that we really value. But yeah, parking number two. We have a parking and transportation committee that we have two senators currently on. It's I think it's Rush Robinson and Kason Barton are the two student senators on it. So if anybody's listening, I know for sure Rush Robinson is, so email Rush. His name will pop up. He has a very unique name. But anyways, parking I think was number two. Three, I would say, is just general affordability, which I think compared to a lot of our schools in the region that we often compare ourselves to, we have a really strong way to support student affordability. That's something that's just even on the higher education level, because sometimes I have to go to Frankfurt and just advocate on students as a whole. That's something that we're always going to be faced with. Just stuff is just getting more expensive in general. It's been that way for a little bit now, and so people have to pick and choose what's the most valuable to them. And with the price of higher education going up just a little bit more and more, it makes people the strain on that for families a little bit higher when some of these families aren't getting an increase every year like some of the people do on campus with the 2% increases or stuff like that. And I think our institution does a great job of trying its best to help fight stuff like that and then help make it more affordable to the students. But that is something that I hear a lot of the times, and that sort of bleeds into like a 3A type of answer where food affordability and access, like food insecurity, is something that we hear a lot of, which since I've been freshman year in SGA, that's something that we've all tried to work towards. We're right now reimagining our Share a Food Swipe program that we have. We're working with the IT engineers to try to make it on the IWKU app. So I guess for those that don't know, on the IWKU app you have like a meal swipe counter, and it shows how many meal swipes you have. But we're trying to make it that right under that there's a button that it's just donate a meal swipe, because a lot of people on the weekly plans, I don't remember how much it was. I'm not on a weekly plan anymore. I'm an old man, but back I did have it freshman year, and a lot of times it would be Sunday and maybe you got cookout for dinner or something and you have like an extra meal swipe, and it just goes to waste. It's like, and that's and I mean that's whatever, but we would love to have a way to donate that wasteful, I guess, meal swipe to a student that's hungry. And we currently have a system like that, but it's very, I guess, tedious in the way that you have to sign up and to do it. It's just not very 2025. It's a lot of like giggle forms and stuff like that. And I know with like attention spans of everybody getting shorter, like you have to make it kind of like quick. So we're currently working on that. Also last semester, Gabe Jordan, who's one of our senators, he led a big effort to donate. I don't remember how much it was exactly. I know it was in like around the 1,000 ballpark, just fresh swipes to Martha Sales' office, or Dr. Sales' office, excuse me. And but just stuff like that, just here and there. Just trying to find ways to do that. We've donated to the food pantry. Just trying to do stuff like that. And another big part, kind of back to the original first problem, is like education with a lot of it. A lot of students will know people that are hungry, because a lot of times the student that's actually hungry doesn't reach out to us out of fear for embarrassment, which like I completely understand. And so, but we'll have like friends of the student that'll come out and send us an email or come meet with me in my office. And a lot of it is just trying to share information about how to fight back against food insecurity, because a lot of it is ran through the Dean of Students office, which is located on the second floor of DSU, right when you come up the stairs, kind of right across. It's Dr. Stale's office, who she's great. But that's just, we're trying to kind of point them in the right direction, stuff like that. And then I would say these are all like very generalized things, but I would say the thing that we hear about the least, but we do eventually hear about from time to time, it's just overall like campus safety. So like maybe like having a light bulb here, or like a light post here, or maybe like lighting up this parkway a little bit better, or like maybe putting a crosswalk here. Which again, back to Senator Robinson, he has a campus safety walk that we do every year, which we encourage any student to go to. I'm pretty sure it's March 3rd off the top of my head. But we will be like posting on our Instagram, stuff like that. But where we meet with Brian Russell, who oversees all that on campus, is a great dude. And we just walk with him around campus for about an hour and a half. And we're like, hey, like, it seems a little dark over here, a little sketchy. Like, do you mind, like, putting maybe some more light fixtures over here? Or I know a lot of students jaywalk right here. Like, do you mind, like, putting a crosswalk right there? And that's happened in the past where they've listened to us and they've established a crosswalk. Because with crosswalks, it's really complicated, because, like, I know for years there's like the Chestnut crosswalk that all kinds of sorority women just jaywalk all the time, and they've said like, Sam, like, we need you to do this. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but Chestnut is part of the Bowling Green City Ordinance. It's not part of the Western domain, and so I don't have any authority over that. Not that I have any authority anyways, but I don't have any option to kind of push for that, or just stuff like that. But another thing that we've heard too is parking structures. Some of them don't have cameras. And so we've heard from people that they've had break-ins in their cars, and it's very frustrating when like there's no evidence to kind of like, I guess, use when you're trying to find out the culprit, or like even just file a police report. We've heard a bunch of emails and just overall from the students that their cars have gotten broken into, their wallets gotten stolen. And nowadays it's kind of crazy, but I've heard this year in particular, but there's this new thing where like these criminals can like unlock your car without like breaking your window or anything, and like they can just like literally unlock your car, grab your wallet, close it, and it just looks like somebody's unlocking your car. So it happened to somebody I knew like literally I think 2 weeks ago. And so it's that's just something that we have kind of expressed. But I will say our police force at Western is great. They do a really good job about keeping the students safe. There's a lot of resources they offer too that we try to like point in the right direction, or point the students to in the right direction when they come to us about that. But in terms of the top 5 issues, I'd probably say that's it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know like my parking structure does not have cameras, so like my boyfriend's car got hit the other day, and unfortunately there was nothing the police could do about it because there's no evidence. So
for sure. Yep.
I know that's just unfortunately is a sucky thing. But with all of these concerns and stuff, where can students go to like just voice these concerns and these ideas that they maybe have to help improve campus life, and also maybe to find these resources? Yeah,
for sure. So there's a bunch of different options for that. So first one is just emailing us, which you can email any member on exec, or just our SGA email, or you could come to the Senate meeting, which I'll always encourage, because I think that gives students that have a passion for expressing concerns and issues that are affecting the student body, that gives them a lot of practice, one, but also kind of opens the door for expanded interest in SGA. And so you can come to our meetings. Every start of our meeting, our Speaker of the Senate, Sarah, she'll ask like, hey, is there any guest and student speakers? And most often times we have a guest speaker, But sometimes too, we'll have like a student come and express interest or not interest, concerns or whatever. And I love seeing that because that's exactly what we're here for. We're here to listen to you and advocate on behalf of you and try to address your concerns as much as possible. So I would say that's a big thing for that. I would also say that we have office hours. Like every center has office hours. They're not required to post them, but there's usually a center in the office pretty much at around all times of the day because they have to get 4 a month. But also the executive team is all required to get a certain amount of office hours. So I'm required to get I think it's 13 and a half. But I always make sure to be in the office for at least 20 hours a week. So I want to make myself as available to the student body as I can. And something that I do that is not required, I don't think, by the Constitution. Well, yes, it is. It's required. I made a change to the Constitution now. But so it is required kind of. It's like you have to do half your office hours with your office door open. I really believe in an open door policy. Now, I know some people like to shut their door and have their own space, but I believe that while we're in there working for the student body, we should be accessible. And sometimes, having to knock on a door adds just a pointless amount of fear and anxiety too. Because I know for me, when I'll be going around campus talking to different administration members, if the door was closed, I'm like, man, I hope I'm not bothering them. So that's something that we do too. So any student, there's a few hours during the week where there's no one there. But the way with our class, because of our class schedules, but the most of the time, there's at least 1 to 2 members in our office right now that are part of the executive team. I know right now there's 3 people in there when I just left. And we're always having our door opens. We're here for you. And our front desk workers, they'll know who's in the office and they'll know who can best serve you in the issues that you have. Because we all kind of have different areas of expertise. And our front desk workers are very knowledgeable about that. Another thing too, if you go to our website, WKU SGA, you can just Google that, it'll come up. There's Calendly links to everybody. And so you can reserve a time and we can confirm and get back to you. We could do it over Zoom if you want to do it that way. We'd prefer it if you came in person just because we love getting able to really get to know you. But we understand if somebody's sick or out of town or can't make it in person. And so I would say, coming to the Senate meetings, coming to the office and seeing who's there. And we have a big, not poster, but kind of plaque-like thing at our front desk that shows all the front desk office work, all the front desk, not front desk, sorry, all the executive team's office hours on our front desk. It's sitting right there. And so, yeah, I would just say come to the office, come to the meeting, or a little bit in between. And we're always here just to listen to everybody. So
awesome. I did not know about the office hours, so that's good to know.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people don't. And we try, posting little things on the Instagram or doing this, that, and the other. And I don't know. I think some people, don't understand that completely. But, we try to make it as, accessible as we can. And I think it's a really great thing that we do just Absolutely. Because I know in the past, I guess I would say since I have been president, I changed it where the front desk workers it's not super specific, it's more a generalized, but they'll take kind of a track of who comes in the office, and at the end of the week we have this Excel sheet and it'll compile your office hours. And so sometimes the front desk workers will be doing something that's not 100% accurate. Mm-hmm. So we can't use as 100% basis for accuracy. But if a person is not coming to the office at all during the week, I have access to that form, and so does the chief of staff, who's directly kind of the manager of the office, and we'll be able to see that and be hey, so-and-so is not coming into the office. They didn't get their weekly office hours. Let's sit down and have a chat with them first and just be hey, are you okay? Are you sick? Or is everything okay mentally? Are you struggling? Is there any way we can help you? Right off the rip. So number one. But then number two is kind of hey, you are entrusted in this position. Mm-hmm. This is kind of your warning. But if you have another week where you just don't come into the office, we're going to have to send you to JC and they'll deal with the consequences. And so, but I think that's something that, kind of just having that in the back of everybody's heads. It's not, I don't want it to be looming or intimidating, but I do want it to just be a reminder that you have a service to the student body, that you were elected either by the student body as a whole or by the Senate that does represent the student body as a whole to serve them. And so you need to take this responsibility seriously it's not really about, chilling in your office, scrolling on Instagram Reels or something. Like, you got to be in there working, trying to always use your brain power to help the student body in some way. And so, but yeah, that's kind of all about our office hours. So I'm required to get 13 and a half, and then Ethan and Dante and Anne-Marie are required to get 10. Sarah's required to get like 5, I think. Morgan's required to get 2.5. And then Preston's required to get, I think it's 7.5. But it's also available on our Constitution. If you just go under our governing documents, you can see the office hours of everybody. So
yeah, that's awesome. I love listening to all your responses because, like, you genuinely, it's so obvious your love for this campus and for the students.
I appreciate that.
And
Thank you.
It's so nice to just get here because a lot of times with all these interviews, we've been interviewing like professional staff members and all the employees and everything. So it's really nice to hear kind of a student's perspective who does still love the university and has that and everything. So we're going to make a small transition here.
For sure.
As you probably know, you and Ella probably discussed this, our organization is Student Support Services Disabilities. So we focus on getting our students to graduation. We serve primarily students with disabilities who are limited income and or first-generation students. So what is SGA doing to ensure that all of our students, even all students on campus, but especially those who face adverse backgrounds with disabilities or whatever it may be, what is SGA doing just to kind of even out and make it an equitable college experience?
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of that we do with it, which I'm sure this is going to kind of go into like the DEI conversation. So a lot of that is under Rush's committee, so campus sustainability, and then Megan's committee, Senator Megan Farmer, her DEI committee, which we might have to kind of change a little bit of that committee in order to be accordance to kind of the national thing that's happening right now. But the thing that I will say about all of that is that you see the name DEI, and no matter like what your political background are, you're going to think different things about it. If you're Republican, you're going to think one way. If you're Democrat, you're going to think one way about it. But I'll just kind of give a background of what our DEI committee actually does. And the name is something that does, bring attention, and is something that nationally they're trying to get away from the name of. But the mission of our DEI committee is what's actually important. And what we're doing in DEI, we're not putting as some people say in politics, one race over the other, or we're not pandering to a certain group over the other or anything like that. It's simply like you're saying, trying to make it better for every student on campus. And a lot of what we do with DEI is trying to make campus more accessible. I know the DEI committee partners up a lot with Rush on the campus sustainability walk. But a huge example of this right now is the wonderful work that our good friend Kurtz is trying to do with our DEI committee to try to make campus more accessible for those that are in like wheelchair type of modes of transportations. And so but she comes she's in our office all the time. We love Kirsten. She's been around I think ever since my sophomore year, probably like end of my sophomore year, she started coming around to the office a lot. And the other cool thing that people don't know about our office is that like sometimes like we do have like quiet hours and we're all like, working on projects or like doing this and that, or sometimes like we all have like little meetings in our office and stuff like that. But most of the time, like, we have a vibrant just kind of experience where there's all kinds of different students coming in and out, and it's a really fun time. It's downstairs. I always recommend everybody check it out. It's kind of right past student activities, like in the corner. But Kirsten will come in all the time, and she'll just like meet with us. We'll get to hear from her. She's really, really close friends with our VP Dante, which I love seeing that relationship because you can just tell like they both care about each other so deeply, and it's like very wholesome and pure, and it's awesome. But she has been coming to our DEI committee recently, and just trying to make that more accessible on campus. And a lot of what we believe in is that when you're trying to make campus safe and accessible for everybody, you have to hear from everybody. Because for example, I am like I will have like a different experience going to class than maybe Kirsten has going to class. And so, my experience is not the end-all get-all for all students in the student body, and so I can't use that as the basis. Like, I have to be able to hear from everyone to see how their experience is different from my experience. And even though we have the same, experience of going to class, sometimes the path can be different. But, what we're here to do is to make the path, available for everybody and not, burdensome for everybody. And so I know Kirsten has been working on that. Last week, she brought one of our friends named Troy, who is also, he uses like a wheelchair. And so, but Troy was a great dude. I got to talk sports with him forever. He's a broadcasting major. He'd be a really good broadcaster. He knows a lot of ball, which I'm always a big, I like meeting people that are ball knowers, but he was great too. And he also brought some concerns that he had and some inputs that he had. And so it's just great because what they do from that is that so many of our members in each committee are connected to the faculty that can make, faculty and staff, that can make those changes. And so a lot of ways we are still the official voice of the student body in the way that like we're like a liaison in those issues. And so when someone comes to our even campus sustainability or DEI or whatever committee, I mean, we all know each other, and we all have like, email communications or just in person. Like, we're always trying to like point people the right direction, and everybody's very knowledgeable. The committee chairs this year are outstanding. They're all very like senior members. Well, I mean, they're juniors, but like they've been in the organization a long time. Is what I mean by that. But yeah, and then on my part too, once the conversations are sort of had between a lot of the staff and the students and the student body, and they go back and forth and they kind of figure out the concrete answer. I have a lot of opportunities, and I'm very blessed to have the connections that I do have to the president's administration and just to President Capote himself. And we meet with them monthly, like our executive cabinet does. And it's just even stuff like that, just like, hey, like, this is something that we're working on. Here's the people that are working on it. Just want to put you on this radar. We all think this is a good idea. And most of the time, Capote's like, yeah, I think that's a great idea too. And he'll help, direct some of the direction that he has over it and stuff like that. And so, the students bring it to the students and the staff and faculty talk about it. They bring it to us, or even sometimes they just figure it out themselves. Like, I'm not saying they always need us, and I'm not saying that me bringing it to Capote automatically solves everything. A lot of times, it's something that is just solved between the student senators and the staff and faculty. But also, too, that extra push is always great to help, compile it, and even help, allocate resources to do stuff like that. So I guess that's kind of like the whole big picture with all that.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, we created a student organization called the Student Accessibility Ambassadors based off of our SSSD group. And so getting to hear that, like, our whole mission, of course, is disability advocacy and education on campus. So hearing that, like, SGA is so intentional about also trying to increase that and working with students to just really makes me happy that, like, I'm over here just smiling so brightly. So, okay, so yeah, we'll go ahead and go straight into the DEI and everything. So as we're filming this on, like, in February, who knows where we'll be next week, but right now, the Trump administration's executive order directs federal agencies to terminate all DEI mandates. How will this affect WKU students and the broader campus community?
Yeah, so the great thing that I will say is that it won't have, from what I've been told, it won't really have any effect on WKU because and I direct anyone that's listening to this, like if somebody from federal government's listening to this, whoever, I don't know, but whoever's listening to this, like, they look up our WKU1 policy, and so we kind of have never really had like something that UK is getting called out a lot for, because UK had like actual like DEI, like by the name DEI offices and departments and stuff like that. But we've just had a lot of staff and faculty members work together just to try to make, like you guys were kind of saying in your mission, and especially in our mission, that WKU is just something that every student can enjoy, no matter who they are. And in terms of the language used by the federal government to distinguish what DEI is, our university as a whole does not follow that language and does not act upon it in the way that it would be classified as following that language. And so, at least from what I've been made aware of and briefed about, I could be wrong about that, I will admit, but I've even looked into it myself. I couldn't find anything about that. So in terms of affecting the students, the one thing that it will directly affect is the Cornelius Martin Scholarship, which, like, I guess, like, with scholarships as a whole, they're going to have to be made moving forward, like available to everybody, like at least like public scholarships administrated through the organization or the university. So, I mean, and we always do it by the organization in terms of SGA, but like by the university. And so that's going to be the number one change, is that there's not going to be a certain scholarship for, like, it's just going to be kind of like anybody can apply to it. Because I think that's kind of a big underlying thing that has been pushed for in this whole anti-DEI thing, is that the scholarships in general, they do want it to be something that, like, anybody can apply for. And so I think that's a huge underlying, like, push behind all of this. But I know that WKU already transitioned in that way from what I've been made aware of earlier on. And so I don't think that, I mean, moving forward, the student body will be affected by, like, these federal orders or whatnot. But I think that in kind of preparation for these federal orders, and even the bill that's currently going through Congress in Kentucky, I think we've already kind of, planned for that in that way that we're, Western in and of itself right now is not violating anything. But I've heard from a few concerned students, like, is this going to, like, affect, like, the Pride Center or stuff like that? Like, and I asked the administration, and they've said, like, no, absolutely not. Like, these, you have still even under the Constitution of the United States of America, like, you have the ability to have freedom of speech and stuff like that. And so it's not going to affect any of that from what I've been told, which for a lot of students is a huge relief, because that's something that kind of in the flurry of executive orders that first came out the first few weeks, a lot of people there hasn't been the amount of executive orders that came right off the rip in a long time. And so I think that was very anxiety producing for a lot of students. But to those students that are still feeling anxiety about that, from what I've been told, everything for the most part will be the same, and that is not going to be some type of, like, complete gut of everything that we have on campus, because a lot of what we have on campus, or at least what I've heard, basically all we have on campus, doesn't fall under what they define as DEI. In terms of SGA, I mean, I can't say this enough, but our DEI committee, it has the name DEI, and we are changing the name because we don't want there to be any confusion that we are just doing these, like, what the federal government defines as DEI efforts. Because I think even sometimes what the federal government defines as DEI is a little bit different than, kind of our mission of what DEI is. And so we're gonna change the name, and it's gonna be honestly up to the student body, because that's get voted upon by the student body in the spring. Not like we're going to pass a bill or a resolution, but our resolutions, in order to amend the Constitution, which is the name DEI is in our Constitution, it has to be voted on by the student body and approved by the student body, because that's, like, one of our, like, checks of power, which is great. I, like, completely agree with that, and that's why, our top 3, like, spots are open to the student body. But I feel like none of what we have done, at least in the 4 years that I've been here, has ever been anything of, like, we are, doing what the federal government describes as the DEI that they don't like are doing. And I think just what we do, and a lot of what DEI does is, like, not even directly related to DEI. And like, another thing that I think a lot of people don't, like, realize is this is not like the federal government where, like, you have, like, let's say, like, the chambers or the Commerce and Energy Committee. Like, you have to be talking about, like, commerce and energy. Like, in the DEI committee, they can be talking about whatever they want. Like, that's just like the general group and the general field that they fall under. But there's nothing by Constitution that's requiring them to only focus on that. And so, for example, like in our DEI committee last fall, they passed bills that were just raising money for the Potter's Children's Home. And that's technically something that you would say, like, oh, like, why is the community relations not doing that? Well, it's just a good idea that came up in the DEI committee. And it's not something that you have to, automatically pass the ball on. And that's another thing I think people, they see the name DEI and think that SGA has a bunch of, like, like woke people that are, like, trying to, like, promote all these, like, DEI pushes, which it's just not. It's just people trying to do good things for the student body. And And a lot of it is like making campus, like you said, more equitable for every student body, which is something that is not illegal to do, like making campus like more accessible. And there's just a lot of stuff like that that people get confused because they see the name, and that is like a huge reason behind why we were changing the name. Is one, we don't want we don't want to like we're the student government, but we don't want to hurt the university in the ways by pulling unnecessary attention, because a lot of the committees in Frankfurt are sort of auditing the universities in a way to kind of like just look for DEI. And Western, I don't think there's really anything that'll come up if you like search WKU DEI on terms of its actual pages, but it does come up in its student government. And although we do have the authority to kind of like run our student government, we want to be following the campus procedures in order to help benefit the campus for one, but also not bring negative light upon that committee, because what that committee actually does is so great. And it has a bunch of hardworking people that do stuff to benefit the student body. And also, too, like everything that they do has to be voted on by our Senate, which our Senate has people from all kinds of different backgrounds and political beliefs. And like there is enough Republicans in our Senate right now that if they did think that the DEI committee was promoting some like radical DEI, like left agenda, which I'm just trying to make it sound as bad as it can, like that never happens. Like they would say something about it and there'd be pushback. And from what I've seen this year, there hasn't been any pushback about what any of the DEI committee does, because it's things that aren't like what you might hear on the federal front of what DEI is. It's not anything like that. It's simply just trying to make kind of like what that WKU one policy promotes, is just making WKU one community that's accessible for everybody and has people that will support each other, and even like supporting our community. So I don't know. I don't think it will really affect anything in terms of SGA. Like there's going to be a name change, but in terms of the mission and the people within it, like I think that's going to be the same. I mean, the people within it depends upon this election, but I don't think anything's really going to change drastically. And although that would make a really good Herald article, like, oh my gosh, like SGA is going like full, like that's just not how it is. And I think a lot of times with stuff like that, you'll see the headline, but when you kind of like dive into a lot of the stuff, you'll just see that not everything is as like bad as it looks like as on a headline. But that's how tabloids make their money, big headlines. So
well, aside from the DEI, are there any other policies under the Trump administration that are affecting college students right now that SGA is looking at?
Yeah, so
and it's okay if not.
Yeah, well, I had a conversation with Jennifer Smith about this. This sounds kind of like scary, I guess. I don't mean for it to be scary, but one of the things I asked about is like we've had a few students kind of approach us about like ICE and the deportation stuff, which like that has like slowed down because a lot of the centers are full and stuff like that. But like within like the first like week or two, it was kind of like a big frenzy. Like I know there was ICE agents doing deportations in Bowling Green, or at least they were here. And so we had some people ask like, hey, like are they going to be going after students? And my answer to that is I don't know. And I don't think anybody knows, because I think that's kind of the whole point of ICE. Like they don't give you like a heads up, like, hey, we're coming. Like the whole, that's like, that would, that's not what they do. It's kind of like, they're trying to not, I don't know, and so like, but what I've heard is that WKU, like we don't have like a list of like who's legal and who's not legal, because your WKU ID basically takes the place of like your social security number. And so like if there was a student that was born here illegally, Western would have no way of knowing. And so if like, let's say like ICE, asked the university like, hey, can you give us a list of all your students who are illegal? We wouldn't be able to provide them that list, because we have no way of verifying if the students are legal or not. Because, you ask for like the contact information, like the address, the birth date, stuff like that, but we don't ask for the social security number. And that's why we create the 801 number. That is your topper number. That is basically your social security number while you're on campus. And so, and I mean, I really have no way of knowing if we do have any illegal students on campus or not. And that's not something I'm concerned with, because I don't think that, I mean, well, one, I'm like, while on record, I'm not going to try to stop the work of any federal agency because that's illegal. But two, just for students that are curious about that, like that's the information that I've received, is that if we were to be asked, like we don't have any information to give them. So I guess just, that's like probably the one federal policy that we've been asked by a few students. And I don't know if these students, I'm not saying any of them are illegal or not. Some of these students, like, I know for a fact, like, are not illegal. Like, I know we're, like, I don't know. Like, I know they're not. And they just, like, asked on, like, behalf of other people, like, hey, like, like, if in case there was any students that were, illegal on this campus, like, would there be, raids in the middle class or stuff like that? And I think the idea of that is very, like, trauma-inducing and, very scary for a lot of students. But what I've heard is that is not going to happen, at least right now. And hopefully that would not ever happen, in terms that it would cause, stuff like that. But that's also something that, I don't know. I mean, I just don't know enough about, and I don't think anybody really knows enough about. And that's kind of the whole point of ICE, is that you don't see them coming. And so for students that just ask me about that, I just kind of give them the piece that, we've been told that your 801 number is not your social security, so we have no way to verify or give social security numbers out in terms of the university. But at the same time, like, we just don't know really a lot right now. So, but in terms of, like, Trump policies, I feel like that's really the only one. Besides, like, what we just talked about, like, that's, like, kind of the only one that I've, discussed with Jennifer Smith about. But also, Jennifer Smith is amazing at her job. She is so in tune, and she works with Andrea Anderson too, our general counsel, of knowing how these policies will affect WKU in terms of from a legal perspective. And so they're just a great team that always are filling me in about stuff and how it's going to affect the student body. So, but yeah.
Well, just to end on a little bit more of a positive note, is there anything exciting coming up in SGA, or anything that you guys are
working on? When is this podcast being released?
It'll probably be in the next month.
Oh, bad. Yeah, for sure. Okay. I didn't know if it was like releasing today or something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. So, a really cool thing that we're doing, and this is one of the things that, like, just like a little tip about SGA, you can have exec and senator, like, ideas, like, combined together. But the executive cabinet is not allowed to do anything that forces the Senate to approve legislation that kind of, like, backs their idea. So the most I can tell you right now is that this is an executive idea from the executive cabinet, and it's going to be using executive funds. But if the senators would like to join in, it would be awesome, which I'm hoping they will. But I'm announcing it on Tuesday, so I haven't really talked to any senators at this point in time. But last year, a few people were telling us that they just they didn't know when to run for SGA elections. They didn't know, like, how to run for SGA elections. And so they were like, I wish there was, like, a way that you guys kind of had it more accessible to the student bodies to sign up to run for our elections. And last year, we had a huge amount of people running. But I always think you can be better at what you do, and you can always improve. And so I was kind of thinking, I was like, man, what if we have, like, something where, the week leading up to the election days, because that's the week where you file a run and you start your campaign, which will be like April, I think it's like April 8th maybe, through like the 15th would be like that week. But I know, like, at least for, like, my ideal, it would be like the April 3rd to like April 13th. Or no, it would be the 7th. Because the 14th and 15th, the Monday and Tuesday, will be our election days. Okay. And then we'll have our watch party that Tuesday night. But one of the things I was thinking about is, like, what if we had a kind of like a festival where every day of the week we had all kinds of people working together to do tabling or do something for, like, maybe, like, we're doing something like green, like we usually do with our campus sustainability. Like, we're getting, like, recycled beer bottles and, like, planting plants in them. Like, that was a big hit last year. Like, stuff like that. Like, and just have something every single day of the week. that is accessible to any student that wants to participate. Lots of volunteers within the organization. But it's kind of like a way of giving the public like a blast of SGA. And then they'll know too, it's like, hey, like it's SGA election season. Like there's a lot of candidates voting. And, you know, some of the people that are running can help volunteer at our events maybe, or help show up to them. Like, you know, they can campaign while people are having fun. And my big idea, which I'm not really sure this will be able to happen, but this is my big idea, is that you would kick it off Friday, April 3rd, and then April, like, I guess 7th through the 11th, you would have like all kinds of stuff during the week. And then that Saturday you can have like a day off. And then that Sunday, starting at like 3 o'clock, you'd have people start to come to South Lawn. You could tailgate. We'd have like a kickball tournament, like a volleyball tournament. We could have cornhole and like spike ball, like whatever you want. Like South Lawn's huge. But then just have food trucks from local people all around. We get like, you know, porta potties and all that. But then I really would love if there was like kind of like a stage, like where the Shack stage was, and you could have student artists just perform music all day. And I think that would be super fun, because we're all about, you know, giving the students an opportunity to shine. And we did that last year with our Battle of the DJs. That was really fun. And we had like 400 people show up to it. And we had like over 4,000 people vote on our Instagram story, which is hilarious, because we had like 2,500 people vote in the SGA election, but we had 4,000 people vote on an Instagram story. But I mean, I guess it just shows that people cared about it, and that we do have that outreach, and we just have to figure out ways to utilize it the best as we can, which made me feel really happy, because that was like an all-time viewage of our storage, or of our story. But what I'm kind of envisioning, and I guess by the time this is posted, you'll see it on our Instagram if it happens or not. And if not, I'm sorry. Like I tried to have a cool idea. But it would just be, if you get there at 3 o'clock, you would have some like slower, maybe artists playing. You'd be chilling like that. And then you would have maybe some of the DJs playing. But then like my kind of grand idea is from like 7 to 9 would be like the time slot for like the final band that wins our Battle of the Bands. So we do our Battle of the Bands via social media, so you could like vote, and like, because we're all about giving the students the ability to, you know, vote. That's like something that we care about a lot. And so we would do that, and it would be super cool, and it would just be a free concert for everybody in South Lawn. But it would give whoever was the most, you know, the winner of the contest, and we would do collab posts with everybody, get them a chance to like showcase their work, their talent. And whoever the student body voted for, they get to hear the longest. And so I feel like that'd be the most fair way. And but my big kick is actually, I'll leave this for a surprise. You guys will see. You guys will see if it happens. But you would have that student winner have 2 hours to perform, like 7 to 9. And then it would just sort of be like the kickoff of the SGA actual like election day. But you know, it'd be the day before. But we thought about, I guess I'll say this, we thought about changing elections from opening Sunday at midnight to like Sunday, like a time in the day when we're all out there, and so students could vote. And kind of what I'm imagining is that if there's 2 executive tickets running against each other, which right now there looks to be, which is really fun because that gets a lot of hype around SGA, in which the past 2 years I've ran unopposed, which is kind of boring. But I was very thankful for the faith instilled upon me by my fellow like senators and you know, co-workers. But like, I don't know, but anyways, I thought of this idea of having people from all kinds of different tickets, or even campaign as a senator, like running around like passing brochures during the final act, being like, hey, like election or voting opens in like an hour, like this is why you should vote for me. And you have like campaign teams running around, they're like, this is my idea, or like this is what I've done, or like this is what I want to do, like this is how I'll help you. And it would just sort of be like, you know, we're calling it SGA Polluza, like Poll.
I love that. And
so like, and then it'll just be like, you know, you're running around trying to get people to support you before the polls open. And I just think it'd be a good way for people to get together. I think that in the spring semester, sometimes people will experience like a little bit of sadness just because there's not as much to do as there is in the fall. The fall is just like, oh my gosh, Western's awesome. And in the spring, it kind of like slowly kind of comes along. And I think that sometimes people go home a bunch because they're so bored on campus. But even if people went to go home, if we provided them an opportunity to come back early Sunday, have an amazing Sunday afternoon with their fellow Hilltoppers, I think that would just be a fun community moment, and I think a lot of people would benefit from that. But I guess that's kind of like my big idea that me and my team have been working on a bunch. So hopefully it'll happen. You'll know on our Instagram at WKUSGA. But If not, I'm sorry. We tried, but
Well, I love it. I hope it happens. Y'all
gotta
look out
come.
for it.
Y'all gotta come if it happens. It'll be super fun.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming today and for your time today. That's all the questions we have. So, yeah, thank you.
Well, cool. Yeah, it was a great time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of SSSD Beyond the Hill, brought to you by WKU Student Support Services Disabilities.
We hope you learned something new and feel inspired to take advantage of all of the incredible resources and opportunities available to you here at WKU.
Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode, and share it with your friends and everyone else you know. You can also follow us on social media for updates and additional resources. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, we'd love to hear from you. Just give us a shout.
At SSSD, our mission is freedom to dream, empowered to achieve. With us, you're never alone on your journey for academic success. Take care, and we'll see you on the next episode.